Being offended is subjective. It has everything to do with you as an individual or a collective or a group or a society or a community, your moral conditioning, your religious beliefs. What offends me may not offend you, and you want to make laws about this?
Comedy is one of the best cure-alls for living in crazy times, but it's also a multi-purpose tool to counter lies with facts and funny, while still being able to remove the 6-foot pole that Hollywood has spent years desperately trying to cram up our collective ass in order to turn us into robots. So I have some good news. Netflix has just released a new Ricky Gervais special called Supernature. And as you'd expect, the coastal elites and the spoil sports are having a fit. They're angry at Gervais's punchlines as if he stole their favorite box of furry Pampers. But they're missing the bigger picture. Comedy keeps a culture young and vibrant, ensuring that we never become too rigid or too proud in order to make fun of ourselves and poke fun at our differences. Comedy unites, and that's exactly why it's almost forbidden.
What happens if you say that and someone gets offended? Well, they can be offended. What's wrong with being offended? When did sticks and stones may break my bones stop being relevant? Isn't that what you teach children, for God's sake? That's what you teach toddlers. He called me an idiot. Don't worry about him. He's a dick.
Welcome, everyone. I hope you are having a fantastic day. My best to you and yours. And if you're one of the few people who has yet to join, I invite you to take a second and push the subscribe button down below and help us grow, because we're planning on some exciting things in the next few months. Now, a moment ago, I said good news that I had. Scratch that. I have some great news. Now, this is not an endorsement of Netflix. It's merely a nod that they're moving in the right direction. See, the streaming giant is taking some emergency measures to clear up their public image and save their failing stock price and pull it out of the gutter. They are axing all the radical elements from their ranks. And in a sign of good faith, they're giving us Ricky Gervais' Supernature. Now, what I like about his comedy is that he comes right out of the gate, and Gervais shares with us just a little definition of his comedy style.
It's basically a bloke talking, which is essentially what stand-up comedy is, isn't it? A bloke talking. Sexist.
What happens next is that he uses his funny bone to elbow identity politics, cancel culture, unfunny female comedians, AIDS, Hitler, transgender community, and the platypus. And whatever's left, he takes a blowtorch to them, and he takes down all the Hollywood neurotic sacred cows. I've loved Gervais ever since he starred in The Office.
This guy does the best Ali G impersonation. I can't do it. Go on.
I don't. I think there's someone else.
Sorry, no, it's not you, it's the other one.
The other what? Packy.
That's racist.
After that, I really became a fan of his when he started Extras.
I hear that Ricky Gervais quit Twitter recently because it only has 140 characters. Well, that's 139 more characters than he's ever come up with.
Good joke. I mean, the telling of it took about as long as Pirates of the Caribbean 3. But yeah, it's a good joke.
You're laughing.
But even more so, recently, over the last couple of years, he's let his voice be heard. He shared a lot of his political beliefs, which I'm diametrically opposed to, and some of his personal ideology, which I respect them, they're his, but I completely disagree with. But what hooked me to support Ricky Gervais was the fact that he had these core beliefs in freedom of speech.
I blocked someone the other day for saying, no, words are violence too. No, they're not. No, they're not. No, they're not. Violence is violence. Words aren't violence. Anyone who tries to say that any freedom of speech justifies violence, that's what fucking leads to terrorism. And honestly, don't get me started on that shit.
See, comedians are linchpins. They're kind of like the glue that keeps society together. They're one of those keys that we need. They allow us to know how free we are, exactly what kind of culture that we have. Are we able to freely express ourselves? Are we able to go to any show where a comedian can poke fun at a peasant or a king? See, a long time ago, as Ricky explained, it was only the fool who could make fun of the king.
I think because we're jesters, so we have to be down with the audience laughing at the king.
It was only court gestures that could tell the truth. And today, someone's trying to silence them.
There's this spate of comedians saying sorry when they go too far. I just think, you know, they go, oh, sorry, I didn't mean it. Well, you should have known better then. There's also a witch hunt at the moment with people saying, oh, is there anything you shouldn't make a joke about? No, there's nothing you shouldn't joke about. It depends what the joke is.
Like right now, with his Supernature special. If you were to go to your favorite search engine, Google, Bing, DuckDuckGo, any one of them, type up Ricky Gervais or Ricky Gervais Supernature, you're going to find nothing but Hollywood and legacy media hit pieces, one headline after the other. The Independent, Ricky Gervais, Supernature is full of cheap shocks and trans jokes. Them, Netflix continues its transphobic comedy spree with Ricky Gervais' Supernature. Variety, Ricky Gervais' Netflix special draws criticism for graphic jokes mocking trans people. USA Today, Ricky Gervais, Netflix Supernature faced backlash for trans jokes. Paste magazine, I watched the new Ricky Gervais stand-up special, so you don't have to. Gervais's jokes throughout the special are hacky and lazy. He defends his transphobia, which he dives into right at the top. Racism, ableism, and fat phobia by saying that A, he doesn't mean any of it, he's trying just to be funny, and B, he's an equal opportunity offender. And what's wrong with that? People like Ricky Gervais, like Jerry Seinfeld, Bill Maher, even though, again, I disagree with his politics, those comedians are the tip of the spear. They're kind of like freedom's trumpet. They're ready to roast or skewer anyone. They start with the self-righteous and they move over onto the pompous prudes, and they treat them each with equal gusto. The whole point is that we are free enough that we are able to make fun, to share our joys and our excitement, and to hide a little package of truth inside those riddles that we all laugh about. See, they're terrified right now in Hollywood that we are getting back up on our feet, that comedians are standing tall. They tried to take down Joe Rogan, and he was still fighting. They tried to take down Chappelle, and he is taking it to him.
I am not saying that to say that trans women aren't women. I am just saying that those pussies that they got, you know what I mean?
Gervais also willfully ignores the fact that stand-up specials and pop culture in general shape our worldviews, establish norms, and affect people. In short, his words matter. Boom! That is what they are afraid of. I think it's been 4 or 5 months since I've seen a reporter, a writer, be so transparently terrified. Think about that. In that one sentence, this author shared what Hollywood is terrified of, that comedians will once again remove the chokehold that's on the culture. See, Jerry Seinfeld in 2015 said what he was afraid was going to happen.
There are more people now who will let you know if they think you went over the line than ever before.
Don't I know it?
I mean, you have to feel the same way about comedy.
Yeah, but they keep moving the lines in for no reason.
Right.
I could imagine a time, and this is a serious thing, I can imagine a time when people say, well, that's offensive to suggest that a gay person moves their hands in a flourishing motion, and you now need to apologize. I mean, there's a creepy PC thing out there that really bothers me.
And not a little while ago, you had Bill Maher, again, liberal of liberals, that's how he describes himself, went to a college graduation ceremony.
Students at UC Berkeley protested when Bill Maher gave the commencement speech last year, angry over his jokes about Muslims.
You don't have to be a liberal, although, come on, it's Berkeley. I think I can speak freely here.
Could you imagine that? He was worried whether he could speak freely or not. And while he was there at Berkeley, you had everyone protesting him. You had the signs up, don't do this. That's what they're terrified of. Like I said, what are they really worried about? They're worried that once again that these comedians will return to college campuses. See, one night with someone like Ricky Gervais at a college will free thousands of minds. All those students will go back to their dorm rooms, they'll go back to their homes, they'll go back to partying. They'll start sharing his jokes. They'll start busting a gut laughing till they're crying. And then when that one stick in the mud shows up and says, hey, what are you doing making fun of this group or the platypus or this community or the Inuit? What are you doing? They'll turn around and say, get bent. We're having a laugh. We're having a good time being ourselves and sharing some laughter. That's it. Get away. Go. Be gone. That's what they're afraid of. So what do? How do you treat people who had invented political correctness in order to divide a country and divide a people back into tribes so we would fight amongst ourselves? How do you deal with those who are neurotic and selfish and self-obsessed and have turned the whole world in to be about themselves? It's simple. These people are empty and insecure. They're nothing but a lot of frayed wiring that's been chained together in a circular logic chain. That's it. They're empty. You simply laugh at them. These are people who are their own best friends, their own therapists. They don't know which way is up or down. All they know is how they feel. You want to know how to fight them? You laugh. You have a good time and you be your best self. And you remember that we never bow down, we never bend the knee. Firmly defined. Step up, stand tall, and get busy living your best life now. Always forward.
Richard!
Oh, God. But no, you don't hit someone over a joke, right? However bad it is, and it wasn't bad. That was like the tamest joke I would have ever have told. Because people are saying, what would Ricky Gervais have said? What would have happened to Ricky Gervais? Well, nothing. And I said this live. I said nothing would happen to me because I wouldn't have told a joke about his wife's hair. I'd have told a joke about her boyfriend.
So I was putting this video together. It reminded me of the very first time my grandfather took me when I was 13 to go deep sea fishing. It had been around my birthday in the summer, and he had taken me after. It was like 7 days of thunderstorms. He said it's a perfect time to go fishing after a thunderstorm. We're going to go to the Gulf. Picked me up at 3 o'clock in the morning. I slept all the way to Texas City and then all the way on the boat. Finally, I wake up. We're about 5 miles in the Gulf. I get outside, I rub my eyes, I put my hands in this like bucket of water and I'm wiping away, and he's laughing, looking at me like calling me a gataki, which is kitten in Greek. He's like, wash your face like a man, wake up, splash some water. So he threw some water on me. I woke up and I see him and his best friend, Mr. Ivan. And Ivan had this restaurant called Perky's, and every weekend he would go fishing and bring in fresh seafood for his customers. So they're fishing there, and I caught them in the middle of this joke. And my granddad waited for a second like he was like almost pretending to cover my ears like you can't hear this man's joke. And he said, to heck with it. He goes, listen here. When you always want to be with me and Papu, you want to be with me and the adults. Okay. Well, now you're with Papu and his friend. Whenever men are together, whatever they say here stays here. You don't take it back to your grandmother. You don't tell it to your mother. Whatever you do as an adult, that's your business. But now, you're with me. Whatever we say here, I have your word. And I nodded. He goes, yeah, that's your honor now. You don't break it for anybody. So what you hear stays here. I'm like, okay. So he had started telling that joke again about some patient who went to the doctor's office, and after 45 minutes of being embarrassed to tell the doc what's wrong with the doctor, like throws a fit and says, whatever, what the hell is the matter with you? And the patient like lifts his elbow up and says, piss off. And my granddad and Ivan were cracking up laughing. I'm like, okay, I don't really get it, but ha ha ha. And he's like, you'll get it one day. So we're fishing there. I asked him if he knew any other jokes. He's like, not for your age. I go, know any knock-knock jokes? He's like, no. About an hour or two after fishing, he turns around and I'm asking him one question after another. It's like a monster machine, a question machine. You know, instead of like, why is the sky blue and the water wet? I'd be like, why every time when we're together in the family and you and grandmother start talking in German or Russian or some other language? He's like, because we're hiding a secret from everybody else. That's why. He goes, stop paying so much attention. So then I asked him, why do you like jokes so much? And he's like, you don't like to laugh? I go, yeah, I like to laugh. He goes, well, laughter, he goes, is how you get from one bad moment to the next. He goes, comedy, he goes, exaggerates these great stories. But if you look, the greatest comedians, he goes, they're truth tellers. Inside of that story, it goes, there's a little bit of truth, like sand, like a grain of sand, he goes. And later, after you're laughing, a long time later, he goes, you think about that, you reflect on it, and it tells you something about the way the world is. And he goes, remember when you cut your leg last year and you were in the cast? I'm like, mm-hmm. He goes, remember the girl you liked after the cast? It's a long story, which I'll tell you at another time. I wore a cast for a year after I cut my Achilles tendon. He goes, yeah. I go, she was a senior. He goes, didn't I tell you, didn't your papu tell you, go up to her? You said you were in love with her. I told you it's going to happen 1,000 times more in your life before you find the one. Yeah. He says, did you go up to her? I go, yeah. Did she tell you no? Yeah. I go, of course she told me no, because she's 4.5 years older than me. He goes, that's not the point. You went to learn that not everything that you want in life, everything that you see or feel is going to happen. That no becomes a superpower to you. Once you open your eyes, that life is tough, that it's a battle. You know that inside, that if you ever want a yes, you have to build it, you have to manufacture it, you have to shape it and work for it. And then that gives you a shot at a yes in life, at whatever you want. And he goes, comedy is the break, the recess. Like we had a storm for 5-6 days, right? Because we couldn't go out, couldn't do anything. Now we have a break. What if it storms next week? He goes, we're recharged. We're ready to face what's next. I'm like, okay. And he goes, laughter is like that spoonful of honey to deal with the battle that's about to come. It allows you, like a good song or a good art that you look at or movies that you love, to breathe again, to get perspective, to look at life how it is. And one day it goes, your papu's not going to be here. I said, yes, you are. You'll always be here. You're like Superman. He goes, no, one day I'm not. He goes, and when I'm not here, I want you to always keep your ears and eyes open. He goes, to look at comedy. When you stop seeing people telling any jokes that they want to, no, that's a flare going off in the sky. That tells you something's up. And you, if you have the gift to make people laugh, go make them laugh. If you don't, let them know that there's a problem. Because he goes, when all that's left are knock-knock jokes, you're in serious trouble. And that's time to stand tall.